Well, not too bad. I mean, India is not as bad, at least going by official statistics, we're not as bad as many other places in the world, but we're concerned and we are taking precautions. Most of us aren't panicking just yet, but we know that these are tough times and we're preparing ourselves for that. So
And how
let's see how
strict
things
is that
go.
curfew?
It's getting more and more strict now. I think up until now, people weren't that serious, but I think we're realizing as to how bad things can get if we don't take enough precautions now. So where I am right now, which is the southern city of Chennai, which is
Oh,
down south in India, uh, today the curfew has is being implemented a lot more strict. Basically, there's a total shutdown here, only essential supplies, and we're not advised to go out by the government. So things are a little tough, but I
right.
think work is going on, so we're all trying to get by.
Wonderful. I'm glad that you're here with us on Splice Low Res. Can you take us through what you guys do at the News Minute and talk a little bit about how COVID's changed and affected your operations? Because you are a
Yeah,
very, even though you're a media startup, you are covering three major states in South India.
that's right, right. So first of all, apologies. I did not have the time to prepare a slide or something. It was a bit of a last minute thing. So I'll try
That's
and be
okay.
as clear
That's
as
perfect.
possible in my communication. Just a little bit about myself before I start with what we do. My name is Ramanathan. I'm a partner, content and strategy at the News Minute. I started my career about a decade ago as a journalist. I was a TV journalist. I worked with television channels like Times Now and NDTV. But in my present role right now is more of a business operations guy. I primarily look at all revenue streams and revenue development at the News Minute. And I also look at any kind of branded content and any other content syndication and other kinds of operations and sales outreach and that kind of stuff. So yeah, about a couple of years ago, I moved from journalism to the darker side. And I think I kind of understand the concerns now better on all sides of the line. So coming to the News Minute, I don't know how many of you here know who we are. So let me just give you a quick roundup. We are about a 6-year-old organization. We're hard news people. We're general news. We do a lot of politics and current affairs, human interest stories. We do a fair bit of business and entertainment and consumer technology as well. So we are fairly mass-based in our approach, except sports. I think we pretty much have our pie in most of the other things. We have about 35 people in our editorial team and 5 people in our business team. So our main focus, though, is the south of India, the 5 southern states in India. And I'm not sure how many people are familiar with the geography in India, although people tend to think India is one country. It's actually a collection of many different countries and many different cultures. And I was a journalist down south in Chennai with NDTV and with Times Now, and people like me always felt that the Delhi-centric newsrooms, right, newsrooms which are headquartered in Delhi or in Bombay, always tend to have a bit of a stepmotherly treatment towards news coming from other states, especially down south. And my editor, Dhanya Rajendran, she was also my boss then back in Times Now. So we decided that we should all come together and start something just for the 5 southern states, because there's so much going on here, and English mainstream media decides to kind of overlook these things. And we think that there is definitely a larger audience across the country for things which are happening down south here. And so that's been our focus for the past 5-6 years, and that's what has built our brand identity. South of India pretty much is the one largest lens that we apply to for all our work, whether it comes to choosing the kind of news that we want to do, whether it comes to applying, to the kind of branded solutions that we provide to advertisers. So that south of India is kind of who we are. And that's what's been happening right now with the whole COVID scare as well. I think, as I said, India is a huge country, so you need to focus, in a focused manner in different resolutions, in different, in different regions. And so we have teams across the 5 states in India, and we've been taking a state-by-state approach a localized regional approach to what's happening and how the coronavirus thing is taking over us. So that's what we've been, that's been our strategy in general. So our strategy now specifically also has been to tell our teams in these different states to focus hardcore, to bring out hyperlocal stories, to speak to the respective state governments, the regional governments there, and find out localized information, verify them, and put it out there to present a more national picture. So I'll now proceed to kind of telling you guys a little bit more about how we're dealing and how we're adjusting. So thankfully, none of the challenges that we are seeing because of the COVID pandemic have been unsurmountable for us. Most of us are trained TV journalists, so we are either used to working remotely or we are used to working with reporters who are remote. So, working just via a laptop in one corner is not something which is entirely new for us. It is something which we were doing in many ways already. So that's something which hasn't hit us very hard, but obviously all our offices are shut down. Everyone's working from home. Couple of our reporters did step out for a small bit just to check things out, but we have been telling them not to do that, not to risk anything. So all of us are working, inside from our living rooms and from our bedrooms, and we have new shifts, a new shift system. Earlier, there would be more people working at a set during the day, but now news is happening 24/7 and we all have to be on the ball. So we have worked out a different shift system so that people get their rest, and at the same time, somebody's on keeping a track of things at all times. And at the same time, obviously, the team leaders are under tremendous pressure. And we are trying to make it as easy as possible for everybody. But definitely, these are tough and challenging times, and we have to be on the ball. So it has been very, very difficult. We haven't changed much of our workflow. But we're trying to be more mindful of the fact that everyone is going through something even at home. So we're trying to give as much space as people, but at the same time, we're keeping the eye on the ball. People's workloads and dynamics at home have changed, and that needs to be factored in. We've made some temporary hires to ensure that things go out in the right time, and things go out also with verification, and there's no miscommunication or any problem which happens because we're dealing with so much right now. The one thing where it has the whole COVID thing has impacted us definitely video production. Our video editors tend to work together with the producers at the office, at the machines. And that's something which is not possible now because the video editors and producers are also apart. And, so the video production time is taking a fair bit of time. That's one area where this has hit us hard. And apart from that, any of the non-corona stories, as we call it, something from the general news cycle, we haven't been able to pay as much attention now. And this is a very crucial time in India as far as the coronavirus is concerned. And we're all keeping an eye out for what's happening and how fast the virus might be spreading. So we have to focus a lot more on the coronavirus story than other things. So we're not able to do that. As far as the business team is concerned, we're all working out of home. But believe it or not, the work has increased for us, for the business team. A few brands want to communicate during this time as well. So there is a lot of work happening out there. So overall, things aren't very bad for us because of the COVID scare. But yes, there are some challenges which we have been able to face, and we are moving along pretty fine. And it's, of course, a great time to be reporting this. I'm sure this experience will enrich us a lot as well as an organization. So steps that we are taking to protect our staff, fairly simple. All our offices are shut down. No contact, no going out. as much as possible, the information and data collection is happening through phone, through video calls, through text messages from our sources. We're using the digital channels more and more to collect information. Obviously, that comes with huge risks because there's just a constant fake news machine, organic fake news machine out there in India for everything and anything under the under the sun. So we have to be very careful about the kind of information that we get online. But we are using the digital channels more and more. We are keeping an eye out on social media to try and find out what's happening out there without actually going out there. And we are making it easy for our reporters. We are telling them that we pick up their bills for communication, for internet and for the phone bills and all of those things. So as far as staff protection is concerned, it's a very simple one-line brief. Don't go out anywhere, and try and make this work right from where we are. So any questions so far, or can I just keep going?
No, actually, we've got some questions coming in already. Vishal from AFP is asking, is there a News Minute Telegram channel? And also, how do you guys tackle fake news in South Indian languages? Very good questions.
Yeah, so Telegram channel, no, Vishal, we don't have it quite yet. I think that's a good suggestion. Maybe we should look into it. Thanks a lot for that. As far as fake news is concerned in regional languages, first of all, I think what we have to understand is that we cannot fight every piece of fake news out there. It's just humanly impossible, because what we're truly seeing is the crowdsourcing of fake news, right? Some person sitting somewhere just shoots off something in the language and then that goes viral. So we have to understand that we can't fight every single piece of fake news. What we do is keep a very close eye on what's going viral, what's being consumed a lot. And that is something which we specifically fact check. We create videos or we create articles specifically fact checking that. We put that out on our social media. So the strategy is pretty simple. We have to keep an eye out there in the larger world. We have to be in those family WhatsApp groups. We have to be a part of the thick of Facebook and Twitter, and we have to be out there digitally speaking, so that we are also consuming what others are consuming, so that we know what kind of fake news is in circulation. And once we feel something has gone out of proportion, we go out there and fact check. And in regional languages, that's, our reporting teams, our reporters, that's what they have done. They have embedded themselves in that Tamil Twitter sphere or Telugu Facebook or, things like that. And it's all on a person-to-person basis. We're all in family WhatsApp groups where people share all kinds of nonsense. So we kind of keep a track of fake news through our personal connections as well, and that's how we kind of work on that. So I think the next question which Alan had for me was how this has affected our finances, right? So let me speak a little bit about that. Frankly, right now, I don't think we have felt anything immediately. What we are hearing from our ad ops team is that the CPM rates have fallen globally. So I think in a week or so, we'll have a better picture as to whether, when it comes to the programmatic revenues from display advertising, what kind of problems it is that we are facing. But this is also the financial year ending in India. So there is a lot of budgets which are being consumed right now. A lot of marketing teams out there saying, hey, you know what, saying that, we have this budget, we want to consume it, and Corona times and all that. So if there can be any crafty communication without us being ridiculous or climbing onto this, then can we do something about it? So we are busy that way. So we do think that there is no immediate impact on the revenue, although I'm hearing that the CPM rates for programmatic have gone down. And Alan, to answer your question, about 50% of our revenues so far are programmatic, about 40-50%. But I think we are definitely preparing ourselves for the worst to hit. You have to understand that in India, we are in a particularly bad position. It was bad enough that coronavirus had to impact the markets and the economy in the way that it has, but we were suffering from a very bad economy even before that. For the past 4 or 5 years since this government has come, the economy has been really in a mess. The unemployment rate is really high. Consumption has fallen consistently in the last couple of years. So the Indian economy is in the bad shape already, and definitely I think the kind of impact the pandemic has had on the markets has shook our confidence to a huge extent. So right now, I'm not seeing any major impact in our revenues like right now at this very moment. But we know that in the year to come, it's going to be extremely tough for us. Clients are already talking about rolling back on marketing spends, and we're down the funnel, right? Whenever a large business or a sector decides to not stop spending, the first thing they go after is marketing. And then when they go after marketing, obviously they will spend on the basic hygiene stuff first. They would want to spend a lot on Google and Facebook and all of these people, and only then they come to the publishers. So obviously that's going to be something which we are worried about. We do know that the worst is yet to come, and specifically in India, there's a great concern about civil liberties. This present government is not really known for their civil liberties. So there's a lot of concern about that as well. So we are concerned about how this is going to help. So what product does the News Minute currently have apart from stories? So for our consumers, it's just news stories and videos. We are working on a membership model. To whatever extent I can share information about that right now, I will in a bit. But we do peddle quite a bit in the branded content arena. I think we've been able to create some very good content because we have the journalistic training. I think a lot of brands find our approach to content very interesting. And also, obviously, we have the kind of reach that we have built through our platform. So content for clients is something which we do. Apart from that, I think there is no paid product which we are doing for our readers or viewers, not yet. So what we are planning for this year, I think in the past few years, we've realized what works for us and what doesn't work for us. I think that's a very important part of the digital journey, which is that the first few years, you need to try multiple things to know for yourself as to what works and what doesn't, right? As an organization, for someone else in India, membership might be doing very well, or a subscription model might be doing very well. For us, it might not work, given the kind of people who we are and the kind of content that we create and the kind of journalism that we do. So now I think we have a better understanding of what works and what doesn't, and we're going to double down on what works for us, and we're going to leave behind what doesn't and stop spending our resources and human resources on that. We're going to try and see how much more of non-ad related revenues we can build. So that means a membership model. That probably means taking up other projects which has some relationship with some link to what we do, but might not necessarily be directly on our platform. We could be taking up projects like that, and we could be building that membership model. We're also thinking about non-platform related revenues. That is, what kind of skills do we have to take out there to the market, which need not be necessarily linked to our platform as the News Minute. So can we go out there and provide some of these services out there in the market for a cost? So we're thinking about that. I think we're also preparing ourselves for the massive consolidation which is about to happen in the digital news business. There are lots of players right now. There are lots of mainstream players who have their own digital platforms. And I think that as money, as the amount of money which is being invested dwindles down, I think only a few of us will survive. And I think we're preparing for that kind of consolidation to happen. Definitely one of the things that we're planning is more regional languages. As I mentioned at the beginning, our focus is the south of India. And south of India has predominantly 5 states with 4 languages, Telugu, Tamil, Kannada, and Malayalam. And so we're planning and preparing to also start the News Minute in these languages. At an organizational level, we're planning to improve workflows a little bit more, specializing in the kind of content that we do. right? We do a fair bit of generic work now. We're going to see, okay, which are the ones which do really well for us, and let's focus on that a little bit more. Give the best to our readers, and also take the best out there to the market and to the advertisers out there. So we're in the phase where I think we're entering a year of maturity, a year where we know a lot more and a lot more confident about what we're doing, and we can kind of do that. So if there are any questions, I'd like to answer that before I move to a few more words on the membership model.
Nope, I don't see any questions coming up. Let's go on and let's talk about your membership model for
All right.
in terms of what you can talk about. I know this is not something you've fleshed out yet.
Yeah. So one of the reasons why I can't be too detailed about the membership models, we're still thinking through a lot of things. But what we realized is for a membership model to work for us, see, first of all, we think and we believe that our content cannot be behind a paywall. Right? We don't want it to be behind a paywall. That's not the kind of content that we do, and we don't want to be there. That's not who we are. So what drives our the very purpose of who we are and what exists is the fact that we should have that mass outreach. We should have mass leadership. That's the kind of content that we do and journalism that we do. Given that we have seen in the past few years that because of the localized approach that we have to news in these different regions, and the largest South Indian region per se, there is a sense of community. There is a sense of trust. There is a shared value amongst our readers. And that sense of community is what we want to build. We're going to stop looking at our journalism as just content, as just journalism for journalism's sake. We want to move beyond and look at journalism, the journalism that we do, as how it's impacting the community of people that we are serving, and how creating that community can be at the center of all we do. And that community participation is something that is what we need to build. Now, having said that, it might not be a wise idea to look at the whole readership set as one community. So we're planning to break that community down into different buckets. Right? Approach each part of a community, understand the audience, understand who are the people who are reading us, who are the different kinds of people who are reading us, and why do they read us? Why do they like us? Right? Why do they give us such awesome feedback? Why do they love us so much? And we will create these audiences into these different buckets and then create a membership model for each bucket. Right? So this might require a lot of work, but I think that's where what will become very important is what kind of bucket you choose to work with. So it has to be an audience which is willing to pay. It has to be an audience which is already engaged and like what we do. For instance, because of our amazing work with coronavirus and tracking the whole thing recently, we've had a lot of emails coming in already saying, hey, do you have a membership model? We want to start. Right? So we want to kind of build on that rather than going out and just having a blind approach in a dark room saying, hey, you come. We don't want to do that. We're saying, hey, let's focus on a smaller vessel, on a smaller bucket, and give them what they want apart from what we do already, and then build on from there. And so we're looking at the expat community as far as the News Minute is concerned and what we can do with them. And we know that it has to be beyond the average content that we do, the regular content that we do. There has to be some value add. There has to be some sense of community. So we're building the back end for a TNM digital community. We're trying to see what kind of newsletters we can create for them, what kind of podcasts we can create for them, and have this kind of a focused approach. And it's from there that we're going to build our kind of membership model. Yeah.
Okay. Hey, thank you so much, Ram. I know that's I know we did this on a last minute notice, but thank you so much for taking the time and talking us through your plans for the year. And it's really great to hear that at least for now, operationally, you guys are still holding up.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for that. Okay, we've got about 6 more minutes to